Tune to Kennett, Zenith Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for Talk.
The Chamber of Commerce. What better thing could a city have than a group of men who are working not for their own interest, but for the interest of the town in which they live? It speaks a lot for the men who do this, and do you see pictures on the wall behind me of just such men who have come into this area, who were born in this area many times, and who work for the betterment of this community. And tonight, we're going to talk with Gerald Granger. Here's his picture. He was chairman of the president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1979. And Gerald, what are you presently doing?
Well, I'm the plant manager of the Parker Hennepin plant here in Kennett. And
all right, now is that, you're not Kennett born and bred, so what brought you, let's go way back.
I grew up in Georgia, and I went to Georgia Tech, and I graduated Georgia Tech in textiles, and I stayed with Uniroyal, who was big in the textile business at that point in time.
You were one of those rambling wrecks.
Exactly right, and still profess to be, except when they lose in the basketball. But we had some plants in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and I was plant manager of a couple of those, and ran a double net fabric operation down in Monk's Corner, which is where I was when I first came to Kennett.
That sounds like it's more in the boondocks than Kennett would be. Monk's Corner?
Monk's Corner is about 30 miles from Charleston and about 30 miles from Myrtle Beach, 50 miles from Myrtle Beach. And it's kind of beautiful country, and wasn't a bad place to be. The plant that I was running there was a double net fabric plant that went out of business. We had over 400 knitting machines. It was a wonderful business to be in. I used to read the women's wear daily and go to Atlantic City to fashion shows.
Sounds like you enjoy. So what, when they said Kennett and making rubber products, what did you think?
Well, they offered me the job about a year before I really came, and at the time I did not want to leave Monk's Corner, and it turned out that particular business went lousy, and they sold off that facility altogether, and I transferred out here as part of Uniroyal.
So you decided if you wanted to still eat, you might as well.
Wanted a paycheck, and this was where it seemed to be. And
it was Uniroyal at that time.
Uniroyal, I came in 1975 to Kennett.
And you were president of the Chamber of Commerce in 1979?
In 79.
You just loused around for 3 years or 4?
No, I think I went on the board in maybe 76, and was vice president in 78 and president in 79.
All right, now how does a man learn to go from making double knit fabrics to making rubber hoses?
What you learn to do is manage people and manage processes. And what the product is in most cases, is not as important as how you get along with people and how you can organize and plan things. And that's really what the plant manager more does rather than manufacture a particular product.
And you've been here over 25 years.
Here at 75, been 23 years, I guess now.
So you're used to this flat country now.
We came to stay a couple of years, and we decided to stick around. And
you raised your kids here? And
my kids were here, my grandkids are here, and when we retire, we'll probably continue to stay in Kennett. We've talked about going back to that part of the world, but we probably won't now. So my wife and I are going to build a house starting next month.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, when you talk about Monk's Corner, were you active in the city, in that city?
I was on the Chamber of Commerce there, and for years before that I was on the JCs, which is very active. And for the last 3 or 4 years, they kicked me out of the JCs, and I went into the
So how different was coming to Kennett and working in the Chamber and staying in Monk's Corner in the Chamber?
The difference coming out here was the industry was a lot less out here. It's more of a farming community. There, it's really all industry. Located near Charleston, the naval base, manufacturing facilities everywhere. There's really not any farming at all in that particular part of South Carolina.
So the economy was really booming in that part of the country.
It was really doing well.
But double knit was on its way out.
Well, most of the double knit industry was up around Spartanburg, Greenville, which is in the northwest part of the state, and they had hundreds of plants up there, but had the greatest colors in the world, and like I said, we had patterns that, didn't repeat for 2 feet, and jacquard looms, and business was so good there for a while, we flew the machines in from Germany as they were manufactured and put them on the floor so we could run them fast.
Okay, so now are you ever flying machines in from some other country?
No, but we're getting some out of Ohio, and we're getting some now out of Philadelphia that we're trying to get in here as fast as we can because we are adding some additional machinery today.
Okay, now the change of name from Uniroyal to Parker, what did this change in your plant?
Well, Uniroyal had two facilities at that point in time. They'd already sold the plant in Maryville, Missouri, so they had two plants making wire braid hydraulic products for Uniroyal. Once Parker bought us out in 1984, they split us up into two different divisions. The other plant still makes wire braid hydraulic for Parker, but they turned our plant over to an air conditioning Freon hose business. And we make automotive air conditioning for all of the major auto manufacturers worldwide.
And we have visited this plant, and it's quite interesting to see. We may be due for an update.
Well, it may very well be. We picked an update ourselves. We have basically built it to make 18 million feet a year. We're currently making 36 million now, and we're planning within 2 years to be at 50 million.
Okay.
So we are expanding quite
All
quickly.
right, so maybe we need to wait till you're at that 50 million?
We're getting new extruders, new braiders, new stripper tests and spike and pipe lines, and we do have two processes that we have today where we shape hose, form products to go around all of the crazy things that are under the hood of an automobile, and we will be moving that to another location to create some space out here. So that'll free up about 10,000 square feet.
All right, how many people presently work at Parker Hannaford?
We have 155.
Okay, now, do I not remember, like in 1979, is that about the time UARCO
UARCO facility announced during 1979 when I was President of the Chamber of Commerce that they would be moving to Kennett.
Now, what did you have to do with, how does this come about that an industry decides to come to Kennett? You were in on the ground floor of UARCO, tell me.
It's a lot of background work, and it probably started, a year or two before I was really involved in it, but they come in and they do surveys along with a lot of other site selection. And they have a site selection team that kind of drifts around.
And what does this site selection team look for?
Well, they're looking for the availability of labor, they're looking for land, they're looking for people with a good work ethic that really wants to work. And
now, how do you tell if a place has a good work? How do you tell if the people are going to really work?
I think you kind of look around to see basically if people are thinking on their own, if they got to have a union to talk for them or whatever. That's one of the things that a lot of companies do, and that's one of the things that Kennett has a difficult time with since it's not a right to work state. They have a serviceability in Arkansas or Tennessee, and makes it difficult.
That has really hurt us as far as industry goes.
In my opinion, it has. And other people take it probably a help, but my personal opinion is.
Is that why all of the industry is going to Blytheville and Armorel and all of those places?
Well, people talk about that, and I think that is a factor. I think the other side of it is, if you look at the whole country, only about 15% of the people are unionized anyway, so it's not really the one thing. But if the power rates are equal, if the availability of labor is equal, if a lot of other things wind up being a toss-up, and this is maybe down to be a deciding issue.
Okay, now you mentioned rates, power rates. Kennett's power rates are good?
Kennett's power rates are excellent. One of the things that most committees come through here look at is the power rates, and most people call back to say, make sure they've got the right numbers, but they're a little surprised that our numbers are as good as they really are. So
okay, so we really...
local power company in the city of Kennett and the way they administer it is really a big asset on trying to attract a new industry.
Okay, now, back to UARCO coming. You were president of the chamber. Did you have to meet with some of the executives? Did you have to... I would imagine it would be great to have a man who is head of another large industry here to go and speak for Kennett.
Well, we've had a delegation that went from here to Barrington, where their headquarters was at that point in time.
Barrington,
Illinois,
okay.
And I also had an operation in Adrian, Michigan. And we toured both of those places with their site selection team as well as their corporate executives, and really trying to do a good job of selling Kennett. And of course they were here, and we met with them, and we toured, the Emerson plant. They talked to the other industry in town.
And did they look at Parker?
No.
Did they look at, okay.
In fact, most people come to town eventually. We get to talk to them.
So is this a normal thing
Yep.
to bring, if another industry is thinking of coming, do they take him to the existing industries and talk?
All industries that are looking for a site really want to know what kind of support you get out of the city, what kind of support you get out of local government. Are they really as good as the Chamber of Commerce says they are? You know, what kind of people can you attract? If I wanted to build a plant with 150 people, do you think that would be a problem? You know, can you get all of the mechanical and technical people you need? Those are the type of questions they really ask of industry.
Okay, now let me ask you another question. Emerson is here, and Uniloyal is, and Parker is here. Do you ever worry about competition for competent labor? Does this thought never cross your mind?
Well, I think all people who employ people are concerned about how competitive the rates have to be and whether or not there's enough people around to do the jobs that need to be done, and can you make money at the labor rates that are out there. We have not ever had any difficulty attracting all the people we need at our facility. In fact, we have very little turnover in our facility. But if we wanted to hire, 25, 30, 40 people within the next 3 or 4 months, we think they're available in Kennett. We think there's some good people available in Kennett. And now that UARCO has decided to move on, I know there's quite a number of real good employees there that are available. So.
All right. Now, what about these employees that may be available? Or what's your feeling about this? Are they going to be able to be absorbed in present industry that's here? Are we going to have something else come in to take them? What about it?
I think a lot of them are going to be absorbed in the outlying areas, and that's the last thing Kennett needs is people, loading up every day and trucking to Blytheville or trucking to Malden or trucking to Paragould, and that's a lot of the industry is in those areas today. I would love to see Kennett have, another plant that employed another couple of hundred people, because I think there's enough good people in Kennett to staff another facility.
What committees are you on in the chamber now?
Well, I've been on the industrial committee off and on for the last 25 years. So.
Okay, now, is it fair to ask you, and you may not want to talk about it, but is it fair to ask you if you are seeing, as being part of this industrial committee, what are you doing about perhaps being able to bring something else into where UARCO was?
Well, I think one of the things the Chamber is working real hard through the state of Missouri is through the industrial committee of the state, making sure that they know we have a facility down here. It is getting some looks now.
It is getting some looks now.
Recently, last week, there was a possible candidate site selection team here. As well as 4 or 5 other locations.
Now, see, it's great to be able to talk to men like this who can tell us the things that are really going on here in this town. And that excites me to think that there was a site committee down to look.
Well, there's a possibility. Like I said, the one thing that these site selection committees always do is they don't tell you who they are. They really don't tell you where they're from. In fact,
you mean a group of men come and you don't really know who they are?
It's John and Ralph and somebody with them that's a real estate or somebody from the industrial committee or something. They don't tell you the company. They really don't. They really, you can tell a little bit, but some of the questions they ask, the type of industry they may be looking at, and the type of labor they're looking for, that type of deal. But they're very closed-mouthed until they're ready to make an announcement.
And does the vocational school we have play any part in what comes to Kennett?
I think quality of education of the children of the people who come to Kennett, as well as the quality of education opportunities available to upgrade their education, puts a lot of need in the area of the vocational tech, and I think that's a big asset for Kennett. They have always worked very, very well with us when we have specific needs, PLC training, computer training.
What's PLC?
Program logic controllers, which is getting into a little bit of electronics and the edge of the computer industry.
Do you ask them to train in a certain field and they do this?
They will put together packages through the state that kind of help us address specific needs we have.
And Emerson is able to do the same thing?
We really have tried to put together kind of a little consortium of the industry in town to train basic maintenance mechanics and electronics part of the maintenance mechanic area. And the VOTEC school has been very helpful in that area.
All right. You've been talking with Gerald Granger. He was president of this Chamber of Commerce in 1979, has seen a lot of changes take place here, and Gerald, it's been really good to talk with you. We're going to come out and update our program on
if you kind of hold off about a year, we'll have probably the best, largest hose manufacturing facility in the country.
You have been watching Time for Talk.